You are now listening to the O.P.O.V podcast. An inconvenient truth that we don't want to admit is that if you're not married, you're single. With that being said, why do some people feel it's necessary to confront the person your mate, not spouse, cheated with?
I don't know. I think I commented on it. And I just was saying, to me, I feel like it's a primate thing as far as animals go. I think they're all territorial. So even if you're not my spouse, if I feel like we have invested time into each other, people claim. Not even people, just animals, period. They claim.
I think, well, let me just do a little background. The reason why I even brought up this topic is because I had a friend who called me, telling me how this guy who she was seeing, some girl, he must have been involved with another girl who was his girlfriend or whatever, and she didn't know. She just got this phone call from somebody saying that this was their man, blah, blah, blah. Now, this guy's not married. Right, this guy's not married. Mm-hmm. He's single, basically, but he's in a relationship, I guess, with two women, and now, they didn't know about each other.
Now, as far as single goes, too, that can be not with the word marriage isn't the same as it was in the 60s. So there are people that have relationships that are stronger and as far as bond goes than somebody saying marriage, because a lot of times, even in today's society, people are against being married. As far as because they feel like it's the government getting involved and blah, 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 blah.
Well, you can be against marriage all you want to, but when it comes down to it, like if me and you were in a relationship, mm-hmm. if we were in a relationship for 15 years mm-hmm. and we never married, if something happens to you, I would feel pretty darn stupid having to go through your mother in order to do anything if you were in a hospital.
Well, I can make you mine. I can make you mine. Or my point. I can make you that. You could do that.
Or if you
because they ask you that in the hospital now. I just signed a form for that.
Or if you die.
Yeah, you signed a form for that now. So if I had a friend that was just we were just going out for like 10 years, I could put them on there so they get contacted and be able to make the decisions for them.
Okay, what about a situation where you don't have a will? You didn't do a living will, or?
Well, that comes with the game. You should have, if you're going out with that person or you're that person's lifelong companion, then you might as well take the steps in order to be well off after that person passes. Because at the end of the day, if the state doesn't have any involvement, they won't issue you anything out of that person's possessions.
Because, I know a lot of people who, you'll hear it. People say, oh, well, it's just a piece of paper. It don't mean nothing. But it does. And, when it boils down to it, if I am committed to you, why would I not want to legally commit to you? We can even push the whole spirituality, because I'll go down that road, but I don't even got to take it there. As far as from a legal standpoint, why would you not legally commit to me if you're verbally saying it and we're to a point where we're cohabitating?
Because a lot of people think the church and the state should be separate. If me and you get married and it decides not to work out, the state shouldn't be able to decide who gets what and what should be paid to who. And a lot of people don't agree with the state being involved.
You could do a prenup.
Everybody's not doing a prenup.
I mean, you could. But
we're talking about two low income people being together for a while. They're not going to, just because they didn't get married, that don't mean they're going to say they're single. So
but you are. When it all boils down to it, if you're not married, you're single.
Okay, but you're being technical. I'm pretty sure you had boyfriends and girlfriends that you would go ham on somebody if they were trying to talk to them.
I mean, I would not even sit up here and lie and say that I wouldn't. But I think
You might just be in a different space in your life.
yeah, right now I definitely
exactly.
am, because I feel like as women we go into situations overcommitting. So
But even guys,
to me, like now, well, guys too. Yeah, that's why on the Facebook post I put people, and because guys could do it too. But from the standpoint I'm looking at is I can't commit to you until you're committed. And what I mean by that is, if you're not talking about marrying me, then anything if I can't, there's no reason for me to act like a wife if I'm not a wife. And
well, that's you, and that's where you are in life.
Right.
There's a lot of women out here that may not be that that family grounded. They might just want somebody to be able to come home to, or just have fun with. And if they see that person getting attention from somebody else, they're gonna lose it.
Right, you're gonna lose it, but do you have the right to? Because this person is showing. If this person is showing you that they're not fully committed to you, and that's what they're doing by cheating.
But you could get cheated on married too. That's the only.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't feel like now.
But that's why I put
somebody directing it towards that person. They should direct it towards that person. But when you're frustrated, a lot of times anybody could get it this your way.
That's why I put on the post, not your spouse. Because if it's your spouse, it's a different type of situation to me.
To you,
but
everybody's not making that separation, and that's the problem.
That is the problem, because if you're not making that separation, you're overcommitted.
But you being single, and I don't know how old your friend was that got the call, but her being single at this point in her life, she should know the terms and conditions when you talking to somebody else. Because honestly, there will be times where I talk to a girl and I'll get a message from a dude in my DM, me not knowing, like as far as like a baby's dad or something, asking me about the girl who volunteered her number towards me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so it does go. It goes all, and it's funny to me. But at the end of the day, people react the way they react.
But that's what I'm saying. Stop overcommitting to people who are not going to fully commit to you. So, like, if this is your boy,
it's easier said than done, though. How do you know somebody's fully committing to you? How? Because
you may claim to them, right? So your verbal.
That don't mean that they're fully committed, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if this person is not fully committed to you, stop calling folks.
But how do you know they're?
You got to address the issue with them. But But why would you not address the issue with them and only them?
I think no. I think
or anybody, you can address it with them, but not leave them. So now
I think some people address it with everybody. Mm-hmm. There's like, he's sitting right there, she cussing him out, and oh yeah, give me your phone too. That girl's getting cussed out too. But everybody's getting it. But okay, I know your mom come over and she's getting it too. There's some women that's like that.
I know this is a crime of passion, what you're talking about right now. Like anybody could get it. That's a crime of passion. But what makes you feel like you have the right to call this person who has made no sort of commitment to you at all?
Because of the investment that they had and the vulnerability that they shared. Now they looking like an asshole.
Who did you make the investment in?
That girl or guy that's sitting over there on the couch.
So once again, why do you feel like you have the right to call the other person?
Because you're messing up my investment.
They didn't mess up your investment. The person you invested in messed up the investment. Messed up the investment by not being fully committed to you. Like, I don't know. I just think that it's wrong. Like, I mean, I do. I feel like it doesn't even make sense. Like,
Okay, but you did that in the past. You've been that other woman in the past to where you may have said something to somebody else.
No, I didn't.
So you never said something to somebody else?
I had somebody call me. I did have somebody call me.
But what I'm saying
I didn't feel like she had the right to, but I did have somebody call me.
But there's situations to where even if you're not married to that person, if you invest a lot into somebody you can act uncharacteristic,
And you
act out of
you
character.
you want to know why
Basically.
I never called nobody? Because I felt like ultimately in the situation that I was in, I knew who the person was I was dealing with, and while out their mouth they was probably telling me that they love me and giving me false hope in that area. In my heart of hearts, I was hoping the situation would get better, but I knew it wasn't. And whatever girl he was messing with at the time, even if it wasn't her, it was going to be somebody else. So what am I going to do? Sit up there and call 15 million people every day, all day, trying to figure out who he messing with and when? No, this is an issue with this dude.
Yeah, but everybody don't think like that. So I feel like
I know.
everybody.
But maybe everybody need
different.
to give themselves a reality check. Because I mean, ultimately, I believe that everybody wants to be happy, right? Everybody deserves to be happy. Do you feel like you don't think everybody deserves to be happy?
No.
That's mean.
That's the truth. I feel like it's a balance of yin and yang. So some people, because if everybody is happy, it's just like the same thing that they say. Is if everybody was happy, how would you know when you were sad? Like there has to be a yin and a yang.
I know, but I feel what I'm saying.
Would you even know? Would you even know if you was happy when you're happy? You normally realize you're happy after the fact.
I'm not saying that everybody needs to live in a state of euphoria 24/7 because that's not how life is. But everybody does deserve to be happy. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
You don't feel like they at least deserve it?
What?
Why?
What makes a human deserve to be happy? What have they done to deserve anything?
Be a child of God.
Just bring a religion into it. No, I'm dead serious. What has any human did to deserve to be happy? Are you a humanitarian? Are you saving lives? Like, what have you gave to this earth to deserve to be happy?
But the question could go the other way. What have I done to deserve to be miserable every day, all day?
Just because you ain't happy don't mean that you're going to be miserable. You could be even kill.
Contentment?
You could be even, like just the even kill.
Content.
Yeah, you could be that.
But I don't know. I think contentment is leaning more towards happy.
Because it's not terrible. That's the only thing. That's the only reason why. Because you see the other side. You see being terrible. You would rather be content because it gets you closer to happiness. But if you never knew happiness, you would be okay with being content.
Yeah, maybe.
There's certain people out there that don't deserve to be happy. Like
what would somebody do?
So Ted Bundy deserves
not deserve.
So Ted Bundy deserves to be happy. Ted Bundy deserves to be happy. Hitler deserves to be happy.
These people are dead.
But I'm just saying, everybody don't. There's child molesters out there. There's murder, like serial murderers out there that don't deserve to be happy. Like they don't. They deserve to live with that guilt.
Okay, listen. I
heart.
really don't want you to do this to this conversation right now.
I'm just saying, everybody don't deserve to be happy.
Like let's. Okay, so when we're talking everybody, we know we don't mean everybody. Okay, like listen.
But there's even people like that too. Like the soccer moms with shitty attitudes. They don't deserve to be happy in my eyes.
But if they were happy, they wouldn't have a terrible attitude.
No, there's certain people that's happy that's shitty.
If you know, that doesn't even make sense.
What you mean?
Just happy, you're not even gonna be mean.
I might get happiness from shitting on other people. If I'm stunting on somebody,
you are miserable.
No, if I'm stunting on somebody, I might get the personal enjoyment of stunting on somebody, and which is making somebody else feel less of.
But that's not happy.
How?
That's not happy.
How?
You getting a sense of satisfaction.
Me being petty, that's like the ultimate happiness. If I'm able to go to somewhere and I see somebody that I really don't like, and I'm able to show them, I'm happy about that.
You know what?
I've made my day.
And the place where I'm at right now, like I can't think of a single person that I really like. Can say I truly dislike enough to even think about them to even do that.
Well, I could.
So
say Right, at least 8.
I mean, okay, there might be people who might get on my nerves a little bit,
And I will
but I
get
don't.
satisfaction out of seeing their miserable face.
But I don't think of them enough to even do something like me. Me thinking about them enough to do something petty to them, like I wouldn't even consider it.
Well, not being petty towards them. You just know that your person, it'll make your day seeing them miserable.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about eternally being miserable. Just a situation miserable. I don't want to ever see anybody be well, probably a couple of people eternally miserable, but like I'm talking about situation miserable.
Gosh.
There's a lot of people I would love to just put them in a situation to where I turn up the heat and just be flexing on them.
That's
and
so
then they just
mean.
be miserable.
That's so
That would make my night.
I don't want to flex on anybody. I want to do me, and I got my own I got my own goals. I got my own dreams, and me getting closer to those things is really what's most important to me. I'm not really even. There ain't nobody else on my radar like that.
Well, that's the difference between me and you.
Petty.
Tomato, potato, potato. No, but I'm dead serious.
I'll be really happy when you come out of that space.
I never come out of that space. I always been in that space ever since I was born. I told you, like, I'm so petty. I'm the type of person that will hate you for winning the Powerball. If you win the Powerball, I instantly don't like you.
That is like a buzzkill when it comes to the Powerball, because as soon as you, like, for instance, like, I don't like typically buy lottery tickets, right? Mm-hmm. But when you see the Powerball up to 500 million, okay, you might buy a ticket because you see it on the news or whatever. And then as soon as you buy the ticket, you start planning out like, okay, when I win, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
And then you hear,
like, who? From Minnesota? Man,
a
what?
doctor from Minnesota? Man, they don't even need that money, man. Man.
So, I mean, I might hate for a millisecond in my head about that. But, I mean, it wouldn't last more than a couple minutes or whatever. Because it just, oh, shoot, somebody else won it. Who won it? Oh,
yeah,
that's whack.
I don't think like that.
But let's bring it on back. I'm still feeling like, what is it that makes us feel like we have the right to confront somebody who has nothing to do with the commitment another individual verbally made with us?
Well, I will say this. I don't feel like it's more so that it's the person getting played like a fool. And then a lot of times people had this happen to them too, where you have that conversation with another person and they have an understanding that they'll stop messing with the person that you're talking to. And then a month later, you'll see that they continue talking behind your back. So there's a lot of times where you don't want to be made a fool, so you want to handle that situation right then and there. Now, you're saying the person doesn't have the right to confront the other person that's not the main contributor to the problem, which technically you're right. Reality.
Thank you.
Reality, though, is different than being technical.
Well,
it's almost like when a dog pees on a fire hydrant. If another dog comes by there, they're going to have a problem.
You're talking about because of the territorial thing.
Everything's territorial when it comes to primates.
What makes you feel like you have the right to be territorial when somebody has not? They have, regardless of what they said out their mouth, their actions have proven that they are not committed to you. So you take that information and you move accordingly. The other person who has not committed to
You're
you,
talking like
everybody's
not robots, though. It's not that easy.
It's not
that easy to. Some people love hard and like hard to the point where they're not willing to give up that person. So they need to cut out any variable that's going to have them being promiscuous.
It's not about being robotic. It's about having a high emotional IQ. Do you know that? You know what that means?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's easier said than done.
No, it ain't, because I've done it.
Just because you did it don't mean somebody else could do it. Just how we're talking about just how we were talking about love after lockup. Like, there's certain people out here that they just don't move right. They don't move right. Their head's not right.
So what are you going to do? Because once this person have shown you with their actions that they're not fully committed to you, y'all have this conversation. Y'all go through the motions, be mad, all that. You done called the other girl. So 3, 4, 5 months later down the line, you find yourself in a situation where when you gotta call a completely different person because they done turned around and like, when are you gonna say, okay, listen, this person really ain't committed to me because I find myself having to call somebody else. Like,
I mean, that's the problem. And then at the end of the day,
I think it's a self-esteem issue too.
Not all the times. Some people just don't know how to give up or quit something.
I mean, because I don't know. Like, don't you... But now I'm getting into everybody deserves to be happy. Like, don't you feel like you deserve better than that? Like, that can't be a happy
But even
situation.
how Megan was saying, like, there's times where if you're really, like, caught up in somebody, if you go a couple of days without talking to them, you feel like your whole life is ending. And that can happen to the point where you start compromising your morals. Like, okay, I know he's a piece of shit, but damn, I miss him.
Yeah, but that's when you need to play that Usher. You gotta let it burn. It's gonna burn, but you should let it burn because there's way more happiness, or maybe not even happiness, contentment on the other side. You know what I mean? It's hard.
Says who?
Says.
So what? So you're saying there's happiness, but what if I don't like being alone?
Happiness or contentment.
Not really, because says who?
But
so say if I cut this person off. Say if I'm a woman and I cut this dude off and I don't like being lonely. So now this person goes with the person he was, and this happens a lot. The person that he was cheating on you with, he goes with that person. And they end up getting married now. Mm-hmm. And now you're sitting up there lonely and you can't find Mr. Right. And then you get another guy and he does the exact same thing to you that the guy that you gave up did. Mm-hmm. So now are you content? Now,
what's the common denominator?
You.
Okay.
But now, are you content or are you miserable?
Who, me?
No, I'm not you as a person, but I'm just saying that person who gave up their mate because they thought that they would be better off by themselves, but now they can't find nobody who's even doing. And that's the problem. It's never a one guy or one girl thing. A lot of these guys are out here trying to have their cake and eat it too. The same thing with the woman.
Right.
So a lot of times if you do cut that person off, you might end up in that same situation again with a different person.
Right, but have you ever heard that old saying that if you don't like to be with you, who else is going to want to be with you? You ever heard that saying before? Like, yeah. If you don't want to be with you, who else is going to want to be with you?
But who says you don't want to be with yourself?
You just said that. If you don't want to be alone, and if you...
There's a difference. You might want to be alone. I mean, you might don't mind being alone, but you might not want to be alone.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to be married.
Exactly.
But let me finish. With the last situation that I was in, I found myself sad all the time because it was a recurring situation where this person wasn't committing to me. They kept having other people, but meanwhile they're telling me that they love me and making me feel like, we're going to be a family, and saying everything, the things that come out of their mouth didn't match their actions. So I'm continuously working to try to make the situation work, and the longer I stay in it, the worse it got. So now that I've been done with that situation for years now, I don't have that heavy feeling in my heart. I don't feel sad. I don't feel like crying every day. I'm not even like concerned with what this person is doing anymore. I feel like I'm way better off in the space I'm in right now. And I'm okay with that. And me knowing myself and just realizing how I feel in the moment right now makes me never even want to settle for getting back to
But don't you feel like
space.
Every human's different? How you feel is different than the next girl?
Yeah, but that.
So you can't.
But hold on. Yes, but why do you have to ask yourself, why do you feel miserable single? Like, why is that? Why is that a thing? Like, why?
It might not be so much you feel miserable single. It's just more so you yearn having a family.
Okay.
Because there's certain people that no matter what they're gonna have their family.
Yeah,
They're
but then
gonna
that puts
get
you.
married.
But then I put you in a bad space to where you're starting to settle for anything,
Or
and
trying
then
to force people to change that don't want to change.
right. So that's what will get you in that situation where you're picking up another guy who's treating you like the last guy.
True, but then there's sometimes you can do vibe with somebody even as a friend. Like you might there's times you might go through things with people, then you do have that strong bond. And if I start acting up or the other person start acting up, you tend to be more lenient towards them and give them more than one chance because of how much you guys grew together as and strengthened that bond. So
I say stop. Stop doing that because I'm giving you multiple chances at the expense of my own happiness. Stop it.
it's easier said than done. Though people can't just stop. Like it's hard to just cut off.
You can if you feel like you matter. I absolutely feel like I matter. I feel like my feelings matter, and if I feel like I'm important and I matter, then I'm not gonna keep, because all it boils down to is allowing somebody to emotionally abuse you.
Well, yeah, true, but at the end of the day, a lot of people can walk to the edge, but it's hard for them to jump off the edge and just end it.
It is, and that's why a lot of people don't follow through with their dreams.
Oh,
Because
yeah, it's the exact
scary.
same thing. It's the exact same thing. You need to jump off the edge.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing about jumping in the pool instead of dangling your feet in the water while it's cold. Just jump straight in.
Right.
Like you have to. Like and you know what made me realize that a lot is that Sarah and Meg situation in the Life After Lockup or Love After Lockup is because Sarah keeps threatening, this is it, this is it, this is it. But she's so scared to jump off that ledge and just end it all. And she thinks, and so now Michael's like, hey, yeah, that's it. I know it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he goes back to being the dog he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all these empty, and that's one thing you learned in management too. The follow through is the most important thing in a coaching session or anything in life. The follow through. So you could say what you're going to do and come up with this plan, but until you follow through, it doesn't have any weight or any value to it. So the same thing with these people that's stuck in this
because just to
relationship.
reinforce what you just said, like even with like my daughter's dad, like we don't have a whole lot of issue, but when we do have a conflict, my issue is like my issue is not the follow through part. So if you say you're going to do something, I want you to keep your word, or even if you can't keep your word, because life happens and things come up,
just give me an
update.
update.
I want you to set the proper expectation and then follow through on that. Just keep me updated. And once you set the proper expectation and you follow through on that, we are good.
Yeah, and that's what life, period. And I feel like a lot of times the talking to the other woman or the other guy is out of frustration because you don't want to jump off that ledge and begin a new beginning.
But I feel like people need to understand that the person outside of your relationship, you can't hold them accountable for reconciling your feelings.
But a lot of times when
that's unfair.
But like what came back to the beginning, when somebody's acting out of frustration, it's almost like you have an automatic rifle with no aiming experience. Anybody in the way can get it. Like that's how it is. And you see it with kids or whatever, like the people that's in like the alternative schools and everything, the way they act out. Once you're frustrated, they might spit on the teacher, even though their anger might not be towards the teacher, it could be towards their parents. Anybody could get it that's in that way.
Right,
and
but when you act like that, that means you have a low emotional IQ.
You do. Or you're just in the wrong space. You're in the wrong space in life. So, but I think it's normal. I'm not going to say, I feel like the post is more black and white that you put, but I feel like it's normal to be in that gray area. I feel like there's more people than not that does talk to the other person because, like I said, I experience it a lot with dudes. I'll straight cut a girl off like you're too messy. Like if I get a DM from a dude or from a
And
baby's dad
that's
or
what
something
should
like
happen
that.
because it's too much drama. And we
It
don't
is
need
like,
that.
and I don't
But
need that. But at the end of the day, you see it happen more than not. And even when I talk to some of my friends, they'll talk about it, how it happens to them, girls or boys. Like we all have the same
girls
issues.
or boys.
Yeah, men or women, but we all have the same issues. And there's people out there that mentally they're not right, and they're not in the right state of mind to be able to make those type of decisions of who they're going to blow up on.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, and I think this is good because a lot of times we'll agree on things, but this one we're kind of seeing it from two different perspectives. But when you get down to thinking about it, we have normalized this behavior, but it is not right.
You know what I think
not.
normalized it? I think years and years of watching Maury. No, I'm dead serious.
Wait,
Years and years of watching Maury and Springer and things like that, and the entertainment of television. Even go back to Ricky Lake and things like that. Those are the type of must-see TV that we used to watch back in the day, to where that's the way we were trained to act.
Yeah, but I think like my hope for people in general is that like we get our mental right, our self-esteem up, and we end up knowing like, hey, you're better than that. You definitely, even though you don't think so, the average person, I would say, does deserve to be happy. And if you're in a situation where
I
you're
would
going
say,
through the
why do you
motions
keep
like
saying
that,
deserve though? What the word deserves mean that you're owed something. What did they do to deserve
you
it?
owe it to yourself. You don't feel like you owe it to yourself to be happy.
Only if you're
Nobody-
doing things to.
You're in control of your own happiness.
Okay,
if
so
you're in a
only if you're
situation where
putting out, even like, because I don't feel like you deserve anything unless you put in the work to do it. So we're on
Right.
it. So okay, there's humans out here that just sitting here and soaking up our oxygen.
put in the work to be happy.
But if they're not, they don't deserve to be happy. That's how I look at it. That should be your motivation to put in work, to become happy at the end of your journey, and then you deserve to be happy. I feel like you don't deserve to be happy if you didn't do crap. And there's a lot of people just sitting down, just feeling sorry for themselves because they feel like they deserve to be happy, but they're not doing anything about it. They're just sitting there soaking up their life, not doing anything.
Do you think that somebody who's sitting around not making any changes and putting any work towards being happy, do you think that they have an issue with gratitude and being thankful for where they're at right now and knowing that, okay, I have these things right now, but I can have more and I can do better and be better than where I'm at now?
Well, I think a lot of
Does
it
that
comes
make
from,
sense?
like we were talking, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of it comes from, though, like what we were talking about before, like the mental health issues about, as far as like depression and things like
Why
that.
do we keep coming back to mental
Because
health?
that's
the-
probably 99% of the problems in the world is probably caused from mental health. But somebody who suffers from depression tends to not have any type of motivation to do anything. So that can be it. The $1,000,000 question is, what can spark the light into somebody to make them motivated enough to do things?
That's a hard part, like bringing yourself out of it. And I could tell you, like when I was in like a bad space, there was a lot of tears and a lot of prayer.
So
You
look,
know what I mean?
so check
and
this
just
out.
like daily, weekly, monthly, it just like gradually got better. But it was definitely a process, and a lot of praying and a lot of tears came with it.
So check this out. So even though you don't deserve to be happy at that time, I feel like no, listen though.
I'm listening.
I feel like it's our duty as society to be able to notice the people in society like that and be able to try to raise them up to be motivated. You know
Which
what I mean?
goes back to mentoring your peers. and
Exactly,
your
mental
kids.
your peers, and try to hopefully you can spark something. Because there's times where I know I could be doing way more with myself, and something will happen. It might not happen on purpose. It might be something by mistake that I see, or something that might motivate me to get the drive to work harder. Like even like with music or something like that, I might hear a song or something like that make me want to start working hard. Or even like with the podcast or something like that, I might listen to somebody's other podcast or somebody else talking that I admire, and they might spark a fuse in me to work harder. You know what I mean?
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, or somebody, or no, not even, and it don't even be Joe Rogan. It's probably might be somebody who's he's interviewing at the time that I never even heard of. Or and it happens with the Breakfast Club too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that Miss Pat interview.
Yeah,
Of Joe Rogan and Miss Pat.
yeah, and then you see people like that who
Had every horrible thing happen in life.
and kept pushing.
Yes.
And so somebody like her, I feel like she deserves to be happy because of what she endured and how
she pushed through.
Yeah, she pushed through and she's still taking
But
care of her
then
kid.
the
her
other
daughter's
person
kid.
who's in like a depression because of a bad relationship. Don't that sound silly? Like,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know what? Did you watch Mike Epps' special?
no,
All right, so I watched it. It wasn't that good, but there was a real good message he had on one of his jokes. It was like, it wasn't even a joke. I just think he was trying to tell a story. Basically, he was saying God had everybody around, and he just told them to put their problems on the ground. Put the problems on the ground, turned around, and all right, now pick up the problems this in front of you. And somebody took your problems. Because you think your problems are a lot, but to somebody else, your problems is cupcake compared to their struggles. Now you're stuck there with somebody else's problems you got to pick up. And now you want your problems back.
right. Like, even like, because sometimes people will call me and they'll have an issue that they're going through and they need somebody to talk to or confide in. And most of the time when they're talking about, they're sad and they're talking about their problem. And I'm like, okay, so based on everything that you told me, I really don't see anything that's like
You know what is
that bad. So I've been through that. Here's how I got through it, you know?
It reminds me of kids. There's certain kids that might cry over not being able to watch a cartoon or something. And then there's kids that don't even have TV. They don't know anything about a cartoon. They're crying because they can't even get a sandwich to eat for a day. You know what I mean? So there's different problems. So I look at it like that. Somebody's reality
That
isn't
reminds
anybody.
me, my daughter, she was like, Mom, did you get bullied when you were a kid? And I was like, I mean, yeah.
What was bull like? Who did they even
And
call
I
it
said,
bullying?
why? I said, why did you get bullied? She was like, yeah, so and so. They stuck me in the eye with a pencil in school. I was like, but wait, I was like, when did this happen? She was like, in kindergarten. Mind you, she's going to second grade. So I'm like, you've been carrying this whole time, and this has been eating at you. And I said, yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, like, at my age, anybody who bullied me in school, I barely know their names or whatever. I mean, I know it happened, but I don't even really remember who it was, because that, once you get older, that becomes such a non-issue.
Yeah, but I don't know. That was a good topic, though. We need to have another one for next week. But it's starting to get. We got an hour and a half right now.
Yeah, we don't want to take you guys too long.
Take up too much of your time.
But if you guys want to suggest topics for next time, you can reach out to us at OPOVpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPOVpodcast@gmail.com. Also, Twitter handle is OPOV Podcast. OPOV Podcast on Facebook, and OPOV Podcast on Instagram.
And if O.P.O.V stands for other point of view, y'all gonna stop asking me what O.P.O.V stands for. But all right, we're out. I hope you guys enjoy the weather. Try not to get too wet out there, and stay safe over the weekend.
All right,
Thank
guys,
you for listening
bye.
to the O.P.O.V Podcast.